So when did we think it was going to be a good idea to start giving robots chainsaws? Not only did you have the bright idea of giving it full-on body armor, but it now has a chainsaw. And we're supposed to trust this kind of a robot. Yes, let's go ahead and create a humanoid upper body, give it 4 legs. He can't just be, pushed onto its side or pushed on the floor, because yeah, that's a very good idea. To make matters worse, why did you have to make the eyes look like that? We could have made the robot look a little more friendly, not demonic, and I'm going to take your living soul with my chainsaw that was just given to me as a gift. When a company designs a robot, do we think about the possible scenarios of what might be able to happen in the future? Or do we just full send things just because, at some point somebody will buy this? And what's crazy is somebody might end up buying this. Me, however, I will not end up buying this because I do not want to be waking up in the middle of the night and see this staring at me, ready to kill me at any moment's notice. So when
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodash, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother Dawadah from the Men of Valor camp here in Greenville, South Carolina, coming back with another video in sincerity and in truth. And Lord willing, it can be edifying. And as you can see right here, I played the TikTok. The guy did a little bit of commentary on it. But I thought the same thing when I saw it. All right. And here's one of the posts. It says U.S. company Centaurus is developing 3 halves, a centaur-style robot designed for dangerous environments such as wildfires, rubble searches, toxic areas, and confined spaces. The system combines a humanoid upper body with a quadruple mobility platform. Okay. So it's interesting that they called this, first of all, the name of the company, all right, Centaurus, which is the female version of a satyr, basically. And, it's interesting. All right, this is what happens when the wicked are in authority. They create shit like this, man. All right, and they're saying that it's for wildfires and stuff like that. But as we know, this devil, he uses everything for his diabolical purposes. So I actually wanted to look up that word and what they named the company, all right, after. All right, from Wikipedia, a satirist. A satirist is the female equivalent to a satyr. They are entirely an invention of post-Roman European artists, as the Greek satyrs were exclusively male, and the closest there was to female counterparts were the nymphs. Altogether different creatures, who, however, were nature spirits or deities like satyrs. Later on, Romans described their counterpart of the satyr, the faunus, as having a female counterpart, the fauna, although effectively the same creature as the then non-existent satirist is actually it actually came to be part of the Roman religion. The creation of gender complementary pairs of deities serving the same function was a typical Roman religious characteristic. So right off the bat, you got some Roman mythology, which goes back to idol worship. All right, and it shows you that this is Rome all over again. This is the revived Roman Empire. Okay. Its deadly wound was healed, and now they have the technology to bring these damn idols to life, man. Using AI and Esau's use of technology. So you have, again, going back here, you see it. Look how demonic this thing looks, man. All right, they're gonna unleash this. Best believe they're going to unleash this on the human population in the time of Jacob's trouble. Which, let's go ahead and grab that, man, because we're gonna need that divine intervention. This is Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 4. It says, "And these are the words that the Lord spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah, both the northern and the southern kingdom." Verse 5. For thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Does this thing look peaceful to y'all, man? All right, this shit looks diabolical. Apparently, it's like 6 feet tall. It's got a chainsaw. You know, it's not like one of these flimsy robots. You see, that's like 4 feet tall. It looks friendly. No, this shit is, man. This shit is intimidating. Okay, you think you about to go toe to toe with this shit, man? You a damn fool. And that's why we're gonna need that divine intervention. All right, and they might make this shit bulletproof, man. Who knows? Who knows? We don't know a whole lot of information, but this is just a visual representation of how diabolical Esau is. Look up that word diabolical. That's Esau. All right, he is that red horse, and power was given unto him to take peace from the earth. This is him. All right, King David referred to the wicked as the sword. All right, because the Lord created Esau to be the sword. Verse 6, ask ye now and see whether a man doeth travail with child. Can men have children? No. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. And what's going to cause this? Different scenarios and situations like this, you coming across it on top of wild beasts. All right, the Lord is about to pull all the stops in this last time. Verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. All right, you've never seen, a robot incursion on the civilian population. All right, but now it's a big possibility. It says, it is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Who is that he? The remnant that returned to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Matter of fact, it's going to get so bad out here that Michael the archangel is going to have to stand up. And we see why. This is Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. It says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the chief prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be seen, everyone that should be found written in the book. All right, that's the elect. So it's going to get so bad out here that even Michael the archangel was going to have to stand up, But also the Lord is going to endow certain of his men with spiritual power, all right, to put to flight. Let's grab that. We're jumping around a little bit. This is why this divine intervention is going to be needed. All right, actually, let's grab this first. This is Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 14. Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel, for I will help thee, saith the Lord, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. See, Esau think he got us, man. All right, this is why he's proud. He has technology like this, and if they're showing this, imagine what they're not showing and not unveiling yet. And again, the whole company is tied back to Roman idolatry. And now they're giving life into these idols. These idols can walk and talk. Back then they couldn't. All right. But the Lord is telling us not to fear. And he referred to us as a worm. Why? Because we don't have any military. If you ever seen that movie, The First Purge, they showed you drone warfare and shit. On Jake. A nigga that hold his gun sideways and shit. And they all got shot up. Outside the main character who had plot armor. All right, well, if you're not of the elect in this time, you're not gonna have plot armor. All right, the Lord said, "Spare not, neither have pity, slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women." All right, that's a walking demon right here, man. Look at this shit. They're saying this for dangerous environments. All right, well, what happens when America is made a war zone? They're gonna unleash this, man. They get this thing a gun, hey, we're gonna need that divine intervention, man. But the Lord is gonna endow spiritual power upon some of his men to put these different things to flight. That's why we don't fear, man. I look at this shit and I'm like, wow. This is Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 19. So shall they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Right? The Spirit of the Lord is going to lift up that standard. We're going to be able to deal with situations like this in that time. Our faith is in the everlasting. We don't put faith in man. We don't put faith in no fucking robots. You know? That's interesting, man. Just look at it. Look at that. Why they give it a goat head? Why? Because it's all tied to idolatry, man. And the Lord is going to destroy the idols of Babylon the Great. And again, they've equipped this shit with AI, man. This wasn't meant to be a long lesson. I did want to bring this out, man, because again, now we're seeing why we're going to need that divine intervention. We're not just dealing with Esau's racist ass, with his sword and his militants and whatnot. Now they've created technology that can move autonomously, and they can program it to, attack who the hell they want, man. Hell, they got even the little robots kicking niggas in the chest and shit. What you think a damn big ass centaur type, animatronic is gonna do, man? All right. This is Ezekiel chapter 21 and verse 8. It says, "Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, Thus said the Lord. Say a sword is sharpened and also furbished." All right, and it's not just the guns now. You got plasma weapons, microwave weapons and shit. It came out that they used some special weapon when they to incapacitate soldiers in Venezuela when they went and picked up Maduro. They got all this. They're speaking on how 6G is basically going to be like a radar in your house. They're going to be able to detect who you are, or where you are within the home. Again, there's no way out of this situation other than to rely on Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. But that sword is being sharpened, perfected. While Jake is out here worried about whatever, worried about sports and worried about LeBron going to the Philadelphia 76ers, you got a company out here that's creating a damn demon centaur robot, man. How about that? Verse 10, it is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. Doesn't this thing look like it's sharpened to make a sore slaughter right here? This is just one example. Not to say this is going to be something that, is going to be everywhere, but hey, somebody might have to deal with this shit right here. There's a movie called Monsters of Men. Monsters of Men that showed you these robots with this AI in it, and it was just nothing but go. All right, kill. How can you fight against 144? Call Allah Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. How can you fend against that in a carnal sense? All right, you damn near can't. All right, but we're not going to fight against this thing carnally. We're going to rely on Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai to deliver us out of these different situations that we're about to be put in. But hey, I can see this shit getting to some of you people, man. Verse 10 again, it is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? It contemneth the rod of my son as every tree. And also the nuclear missiles are ultimately prepared, man. All right, we're entering the darkest times of human history, really. All right, and the Lord is bringing it. He's bringing it before he brings the finale and the greatest deliverance. Because this deliverance is no more going to be said, the Lord liveth that delivered the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, all right, which is still spoken about to this day. But the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of the north and out of all the lands whether they were scattered. So we're going to need that divine intervention. We're going to need to pray to the Lord to protect us. Again, this time is going to get so bad that Michael, the archangel, okay, and these angels don't look like, what you have come to see on Valentine's Day, a little baby with a little bow and arrow shooting little hearts in people's asses. No, these are mighty men of war that aren't human. These are spiritual beings, that can kill. There's different accounts in the scriptures where, these angels was getting busy killing tens of thousands of Israelites, man. You know, back when David had counted Israel, all right, which was it pissed the Lord off, and the Lord had to tell the angel to stop, man. But the angels are on our side. They're our brothers. They serve the same power. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. All right, so we don't have anything to fear. Verse 11, it is, and he have given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened, and it is furbished to give into the hand of the slayer. The devil that has the power right now has the power to unleash these damn robots and drones and shit on the civilian population. All right, and I believe through the spirit that they will do it at some point in time. You know, we just got to wait and see. The Lord is about to pull all the stops, man. All right, you people think just because you got a pantry full of food or you got a couple guns that you're going to be protected from the wrath to come. You're not. All right, the only way out of this is if you are of the elect, man. That's why we're commanded to seek the Lord while he may be found. Because when the doors of mercy close, all right, you're going to be where you at. You know, you're either going to be in this truth or you're going to be outside of it. You know, the Lord is either going to preserve your life or he's about to make you pay, man. I just wanted to bring this out. You know, interesting little piece of information, piece of technology there on unveiling. You know, that just shows you the mind of the Edomite. It's to kill, steal, destroy. All right, and he about to use Esau to get you, you wicked ass niggas, one last good time, man. All right, but it's not just Jacob's trouble. It's gonna be Esau's trouble too, man. All right, because again, I'm speaking on this as far as the civilian population, man. You know, they can have this shit attacking people in that day. But we shall see. So, Lord willing, this is edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Makakradash. And double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Till next time, Shalom.